Hello, welcome back to my garden here in Denmark. It's May the 5th and there has been done a lot of changes to this garden since I made my last video. Unfortunately, as you can see, there are almost no tulips in bloom. Very few right down there. And the reason is that I found out that most of my Darwin tulips had tulip fire. So for the last couple of days I've been digging out tulips. Yeah, I think it took 4 days or so. And I've bagged them up. And I will drive them to a recycling facility where I'll put them into waste where they will be destroyed and burned basically. At least I'm hoping that they will accept that. Because tulip fire can spread and it can become a soil-borne disease. So I'm not going to re-establish these tulips anytime soon. I had a couple of tulips that did not seem to be affected at all. Those I've kept. And I will keep a good look or a good eye on them just to see how it will go. Now, with the tulips gone, basically I had to dig over quite a lot of the garden to get these tulips out. I've actually had to dig up quite a few perennials and dig them back in. And also, of course, I watered them quite a lot after that. Luckily it is spring. But as you can see, the border looks as though it really has been dug over, and that is so many tulips that I had to get out. I would actually like to add in that I don't think it was all bad that I removed the tulips, because some of the perennials actually showed signs of being under quite a lot of stress from these tulips. Because quite a lot of them, the Darwin hybrids, quite a lot of them have rather wide leaves, and when I purchased them I basically only looked at the bloom, right, at the flower, but they had really broad leaves and they were planted basically between all of the perennials. And over the years they had actually like bulked up. I believe they sort of, first year you have 1, then you have 2, then you have 4, then you have 8, right? And they had become quite bulky, especially given their very wide leaves. Anyhow, an accident or something like that, of course, never arrives as the only thing that's gone bad, because that's just how life is, right? So another thing that has really been bothering me this year is that my hay fever has been going really crazy. And as you know, I've had quite a lot of views in this garden as well. And I still have a few that remain. But the hues did generate quite a lot of pollen. And so I have removed all of those hues that gave off pollen. And that was basically half of all of my columnar hues. Hues are actually gendered. That is that one plant is the female and one plant is the male. And only male hues will give off pollen. And what I've kept is female hues. I basically have a harem of hues now. Well, as you may remember, the hues here in the middle border actually used to be yellow, and what I've been doing is that I've been shuffling my remaining hues a little bit around, and hopefully they are all female. You know, I'm not an expert in hues, but of course all of the ones that gave off pollen I could immediately identify as being male, right, and those I removed. Yeah. At least the apple trees look really nice, right? Let's just enjoy the view, right? They are really good looking and will of course provide me with a nice harvest, I hope. And something that I need to focus a little bit on is that now that the tulips are gone, I need to establish something else that can flower while they would usually be there. There's a Magnolia Susan right there, was established last year, but would have its flowers right about now. So that would compensate a little bit for tulips, right? I believe this plant has been in flower for like a month or so. Latyrus vernus, I believe. There are various variations of that plant, and it looks really, really great. I actually have quite a few that are still small, but as they bulk up, they can compensate for the lack of tulips as well. Another thing that has changed over here, where the magnolia is and the Latyrus vernus, is that I used to have some willows here. Rather small shrub willows. And I removed those as well because they gave off pollen. And I believe I will actually move that magnolia a little bit further into the border here, because now there's room for it basically, since those willows have gone. I have had a tendency of planting a little bit too close as well. Yeah, and this in here is a willow, and that one will be removed as well. It has gotten taller than I expected as well. I think it might actually open up the border a little bit in there to pull that one out as well. But I would have rather had if I only had to reduce the height of it. But that one will be removed as well. Moving along. This is a rather nice site. Looking quite great. The white flowers in there are again this double anemone. I think I'll just propagate that by quite a lot and see how that goes. Also the brunera, quite a nice plant at this time of year. And again, this has been totally dug over and then watered back in, and some of the plants have been dug out to get these tulips out of there. Quite a lot of work, and that is just how it goes, right? Coming up on something that looks quite nice. Crabapple. I believe it's called Everest. And that is looking really great this time of year, and will of course look better each year that goes by. It is not wind pollinated, it is pollinated by insects, has a sticky pollen, and it will basically stick to those insects. And hence I won't really get a huge whiff on it on me, right? Bleeding heart. I've always had issues establishing bleeding heart. These were planted last year, I believe, or the year prior to that. And here they look really well. I've had them in other spots where they died out, but those are just looking stunning, right? Of course, there's one issue right here with this crabapple, and that is it will become bigger. This other plant next to the cherry also became larger than I originally thought it would. And hence this cherry will basically be under a huge amount of strain in the years to come. Because, oh, there's a moped. Yeah, because all of these plants will of course get larger over time. So I'm going to move this cherry. Even though it's quite large, I'm gonna try. Because in the long run it won't stand a chance in there, basically. It will disappear entirely. Plus from afar, I believe the flowers on the crabapple are too similar to that of the cherry right here. So basically I'm gonna move it down there instead, where I have nothing in bloom right now. At least nothing that resembles the cherry, right? Moving onwards, I need to clean up my hydrangea, limelight. Hydrangeas are quite allergy friendly, so that's a great thing, right? Also in there, you'll notice that, yeah, again, no tulips, removed. also completely dug over in there, and that's because I've removed quite a few tulips, but I've also removed quite a few geraniums. And the geranium that I've removed is basically the ones that Monty Dunn from Gardener's World planted in a couple of weeks ago, and that is geranium phaeum. And the ones I've had have spread seeds like crazy, and of course the advice is remove the seeds. I never get it done, and then they spread their seeds. Then the year after they are pretty with their flowers, and then I think, oh, I can't remove them right now because they're so pretty with their flowers. And yeah, that's just not the geranium for me. So right now I'm removing all of my geranium phaeums as well. And there's quite a lot of them. There's quite a lot of them remaining in there still, and I'm going to remove all of them. Basically the entire bag in there is filled with them. And what am I going to replace them with? And basically I am going to replace geranium phaeum with geranium phaeum. Yeah, that sounds stupid, right? But this is basically, let's see if we can focus, geranium phaeum Joseph Green. It's a double, it's 60 centimeters tall, will bloom, go into bloom in about a week if it was an old plant, can take everything basically, not that fantastic if it gets really dry. This one, why am I replacing it with this one? This one is sterile or close to sterile. That is sort of the perfect fit for me, right? Because the only thing I really didn't like was that they seeded so much. Also, this one does not have as beautiful a bloom, if you ask me, as the others, but I'm prepared to compromise just to keep the phaeums going in here. Oh, and it's rather dry, I need to water that. Anyhow, and I purchased quite a lot of those. What did I pay for those? Quite a lot, 35 kronos. Now we're not completely over the removals yet, because in there I have this elder. Elder, I found out, will actually semi-wind pollinate, can also be pollinated by small beetles and so on, but quite a lot of it will actually be pollen in the air. Again, it's highly unlikely that you are actually allergic to it, but again, here in my garden I will be hit with the entire amount of pollen when I work here, and it will be spread over quite a large area right here, so hence it's a goner. And that's really, that's a shame, right? Just look at it. That combination is basically the combination that I've shown again and again for the last couple of years, right? And that is a real shame. And I will remove it, and then I will plant in some of these phaeums, and I will replace this plant with something else. Yeah. So yeah, as you can hear, it's sort of like removal, but that's how it is if you don't do your research well enough. And also my allergies just got worse, right? So this is the first year where I've been hit so badly as I have. These I can definitely divide, right? Quite a lot of these doubles here, looking really great. I can divide those and hence get some nice spots going where there's something that will shine out. Of course, it won't be like tulips, but at least there will be something in flower, right? I have a lot of single varieties as well. Those have stopped blooming by now. This double goes into flower a little bit later than the single varieties. On the other side of the border, I have established some silene, they're called. They are looking really great. I hope that they will establish well right here and won't, you know, grow so much that they end up becoming a weed. This is a special form of silene. It should be sterile. Let's see if that holds up. I like sterile plants because they basically stay where I plant them. Right? They won't spread around by seed, but sometimes they tend to be more vigorous than other plants because they don't use energy on setting seed. However, quite often that also means that they flower for a longer duration. Let's see how this Silene does here in the garden. Behind the Silene you'll notice quite a few open spots. I had Aster Munch here, one of my favorite plants in the garden. Unfortunately, again, due to my hay fever, I removed it completely. So that's gone. Coming up on a plant where I'm hoping that it will flower this year. This is an Ito peony. I've had it, this is its 3rd year. It has not flowered yet. It is looking great, but has not flowered yet. Looked great last year as well, did not flower. These Ito peonies should be able to support their own flowers. They're sort of like a cross between a tree peony and a normal peony. But I see no flower buds on it, at least not yet. Border over there, yeah, we basically covered that. Just look here. These have actually appeared from a sea of tulips. And you can see here as well some plants that were under a major amount of stress due to tulips. I've not really removed any plants right here. I've only taken out the tulips. And that has left me with big amounts of space for plants. Basically, at least in some of these areas, these tulips were way too aggressive. Yeah, and these are not tulip leaves. You need to be sure to remove all parts of the tulips. This is what ornamental onion bulb, basically Allium globemaster, that has been dug up along with some tulips and then been replanted, and they don't take that very well if you do that. Let's just put it like that. It should look like the globemasters in here. Again, the globemasters will have a little bit of the same problem as the tulip, and that is that they develop quite large leaves, so you need to take care where you put them in. I actually think that the perfect partner are geraniums, because geraniums, at least those semi-tall varieties, will cover up the leaves here later in the year where the leaves get really ugly on these ornamental bulbs, this globemaster right here. And hence I think they're the perfect partner, and they are able to at least mostly compete with them when they bulk out to something like that. Whereas this one, Black-Eyed Susan back here, is not that good at competing with these rather large amount of leaves. Moving further along, yeah, this is where the grass will be extended if I ever get time for that. Still need to clear that willow down by the pond, right? Plus that elder will be a fight to remove. You can't just trim an elder to the ground, they will reshoot. So I'll have to dig them up. There are 2 plants in there basically. I'll have to dig them up, and that will require so much time. And do look that up if you plan to actually do that, right? But I believe it will reshoot. Sort of like butterfly bushes, that you can trim those rather hard, and I told someone that I know that you should basically go in and trim it really hard, and then it died, right? And that sort of made me look a bit bad. So do look it up and be aware that there's always a little bit of a risk, right? In here, these yellow flowers, that is a tree peony that started flowering. It flowers for a very, very short duration. And here in spring, I'm fine with yellows. So it's quite often you have those for the foliage as well, right? And it's a really nice looking plant. Magnolia nigra in flower right now. That looks stunning now. I was a bit cheap when I purchased that, so it's been here for a long time and it started out as a really small plant. Magnolias are great for people with allergies. There are a few of them that have a scent to them. Those might be some to avoid, right, if you have an allergy at least. But this one has no scent basically, at least not anything that I notice, and should be great for people with allergies. And of course there's always going to be the odd one out, right, so do take care if you have allergies. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.